Welcome to episode 6 of Completely Cricket. Hosting the episode today is myself, Avinash Shardasan, and alongside me I have Luca Tresigne. Today's episode is jam-packed with content all to do with the second Ashes Test, which ended on the 20th of December. From Ollie Robinson bowling surprisingly good off-spin to Joe Root being hit in the same sensitive area where no one wants to be hit, repeatedly, this test was action-packed. We will be explaining some of the strange events that occurred and analysing each individual player, as well as giving them each a rating out of 10. Without further ado, let's get started. Before we go into the deep analysis of the test, let's start with some of the strange things that happened in this test. I think it's fitting to start with Ollie Robinson and his off breaks. What happened, Luca?
Well, he was brought into bowl to speed up the over rate, but it was quite funny watching a really good fast bowler bowling surprisingly well with his off spin. I learned that he actually used to bowl off spin for Sussex. That's why he was brought on, because we didn't have like a main spinner in that test match, whereas we had Jack Leach in the last one. So he was brought on to speed up the over rate for England and maybe try and pick up a cheap wicket for us.
Yeah, I think he was trying to occupy Joe Root's holding role because Joe Root went off injured. He said, I think there was an issue with the groin, so he went off he went off the field. So I think they needed a spinner to give the Pacers a rest and play a holding role on one side. So Ollie Robinson actually, because of his height, got quite a bit of a good amount of bounce as well. And he didn't take any wickets. If he did take a wicket, that'd be really funny. But he still bowled pretty well. He got a couple of overs. But it's strange to see a pace bowler bowl spin and bowl it not get smacked for like sixes and fours, which generally happens at least a few fours when a part-timer comes on.
Well, I remember Alistair Cook, he once came on for an over and he actually got a wicket, which was just hilarious apparently. Yeah, he got, I think, Ishant Sharma out, which was hilarious. That would have been really funny to see Ollie Robinson maybe pick up one of Travis Head and Labuschagne. They actually both went on to hit 50s, which was quite annoying for us.
The second strange thing that happened in the second test was Joe Root getting hit in the private parts twice in the same test, once on the actual pitch and once in early morning training. So the really funny part is that he started running really strangely after getting hit. There was like a 5-minute delay of him taking some paracetamol and getting back, heal himself up. But there was he was running really strangely. It sort of what would you describe his running as?
Waddling, really, like a penguin, like trying to get his legs around his body, really. It was really funny to watch. He struggled for all the runs he got afterwards. And unfortunately, he got out because of it, probably. He just wasn't comfortable with his batting after he got hit by Stark. It's not very nice being hit by a cricket ball at any speed, but he was going very fast, Mitchell Stark. So
of course.
I think he got hit while playing training, and he wasn't wearing a box because he was just trying to whack it around. And he got hit from a throwdown, and because he wasn't wearing a box, it really hurt. So I think that's what sort of kicked it off. Otherwise, I think he would have been fine afterwards, but I think he really hurt himself after the ball from Stark hit him.
I think you can't expect a batsman to keep. Obviously, he did the brave thing and kept batting, but it's going to be so uncomfortable, especially facing the same bowler again and again. You're not going to want to play the shot, and then But I think that's for anyone watching and any England fan. I think that's when the resistance sort of died because we sort of knew that after that, without Joe Root, we're just pretty much done. Yeah, we had pretty much had no hope after that. But anyway, let's go. Now it's judgment time. Let's start judging the England and Australian players out of 10 and the performances purely in the second Ashes Test. But obviously, some factors of previous form can come in. Luca, the way we'll do it. So I'll start with a player. We'll go from the top of the order to the bottom of the order. From England to Australia. So I'll start with Hasib Hamid. You do Rory Burns, and I'll do Darren Milan, and we'll just keep going. We'll do England, then we'll do Australia, and we'll see. Because I think there's been some really good performances, but there's also been some absolutely shocking performances, especially from England. Yeah, okay, so I'll start with Steve Hamid. Honestly, out of 10, I think I'd rate him 5, I think. Not even that, that's generous. I'd
No,
say
lower, surely.
4. Yeah,
Yeah.
4 or 3 because his role is just purely opening batsman. He doesn't even bowl. So then he at his job he did horribly. Like, he did not score, and I expected him, like, especially if anyone's listened to our last episode, I expected him to, because he was facing the pace bowlers of Australia pretty well. I thought he would survive for a while. I
Mm,
thought he would score some
yeah.
runs, but he really didn't. He's got out in two unconvincing fashion.
Yeah.
So
It's quite worrying because he's actually played really well against tougher bowlers against India, which is really strange. But he seems to just be getting out to pace and bounce quite recently, which is quite a
mm,
worry for an opening batsman.
and he's just only just got into the England team anyway after like a
Yeah.
5-year layoff, right? You don't want to be
Yeah.
already looking at your exit so soon.
Yeah. I
Okay,
mean, he
sorry, yeah, continue.
yeah, he just I don't know why. They're both the openers have just been really struggling with the pace. And when they came up against spin, like Rory Burns, he was completely fine with it. So is that just something about the pace, I wonder?
Hmm. I think it's just because in county cricket you don't really face
Yeah,
extreme pace bowlers.
yeah,
Most of the pace bowlers are just like in the mid 70s and things like that, because a lot of them are also
yeah,
age, so that you're not really facing proper realistic of international
mm,
conditions. And that's why there's been a big issue on like whether our county cricket structure in England is suitable for the international game.
yeah,
Like, is it helping to bring up players? Because you've got good talents, but you haven't actually
yeah.
got anyone who can perform. Do you want to go to Rory Burns?
Well, I was really disappointed in his first innings, wherever he got 4 off 3 balls, just nicking off again to Mitchell Stark. But in the second innings, he was really actually quite impressive. Of course, he didn't really go anywhere after he got to about 30, but he faced a lot of balls in the situation where he needed to. He got on new batsmen in, he had a good partnership with David Milan, and he actually looked like quite certain at the crease and not nervous anymore. When he started the Ashes, he was like shaking, he was tangled up, he was nicking lots of balls. So, really
Mm.
impressive from him to get in and create a very good innings in the end.
So out of 10, got a specific number you rate him?
Well, it would be about an 8 or 9 based on the second innings, but the first innings was just terrible, so it's 6.5 maybe.
Okay, yeah, I think I'd agree. I think that's pretty fair. Uh, second innings, he did what was required of him. Obviously, more runs would have been more helpful, but we weren't really looking for runs. We're looking for grafting and
Yeah, yeah,
absorbing
the
balls,
runs.
doing what Josh Butler did, pretty much.
Yeah,
Okay, Dawood Milan, I'd rate him probably 7 out of 10. Lovely
yeah,
innings in the first, and lovely innings from the first innings. 80. If he converted to a century, that'd been a lot better, because realistically, you're not going to make a significant total like Australia did without any centurions, or at least regular people getting into the 90s. We only had 2 people above 50, which was Dawid Milan and Joe Root in the first innings. So the second innings, when we really needed him, when we needed him to stay in for those balls, he didn't perform. That's the one letdown. But overall, his form's been pretty good,
yeah,
and he's scoring runs for a team that needs runs. So I'm not gonna like blame him or anything.
yeah. I think he's got something like 5 on the trot, 50s, 5 on the trot since he came back from not being in the team. And I think he was our highest scorer last Ashes in Australia. And it's heading that
Yeah.
way again. I have no idea why he got dropped from the team. He was on form, he was doing well, and we know he was one of the best T20 batsmen in the world because of his rating. I don't think he's been given much of a chance in ODI yet, but he looked good when he played a couple of games. I actually really like watching him play, especially his offside shots. They're quite amazing.
Yeah, I think the reason why he got dropped the last Ashes series is that after the Ashes, in home games, he sort of, I don't know, because I think it's because of the more swing, and it wasn't suiting to his batting, so he did have a run of low scores. But
Mm,
England need to keep faith with their players. But I personally,
yeah.
I would keep faith with Dawid Malan even if he scores like low scores, because he looks like a good batsman. But Rory Burns and Hasib Hamid, I don't know. I wouldn't really, because I think we've given a lot, especially Roy Burns. We've given loads of chances to. Like there's a time when chances are
Yeah,
really valuable, and in an important test series, we can't just give
yeah.
free chances to people.
I
Um,
think
uh,
the
yes,
the issue
continue.
with David Milan is like there's a lot of people wanting to come in at 3, 4, 5 in the England county lineup, but we don't really have a third opener. Sorry, apart from maybe Jack Crawley, but maybe he could like shift his way into that opening position in the future. David Milan, I'd like to see that maybe soon.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see him as an opener. I think he has the temperament and he can survive. He can make the new ball. And he can take off the shine off the new ball. Um, yeah. Do
Yeah.
you want to do Giroud?
Yeah, well, Joe Root's been in excellent form recently. He got that 50 in the first innings. Something that's so weird, he's getting out to Cameron Green all the time at the moment. And
Mm.
in the second innings, the same way, basically. He's just playing at shots he really shouldn't be playing at. And he's nicked off, I think, every single time in this Ashes series so far. Obviously, he had that injury in the second innings, which really didn't help him. So, in the second innings, I feel bad for him because he was struggling after that. In the first, he played really, really well, but it seems like there's always a reliance on Joe Root to hit runs, and if there isn't runs from Joe Root, we just collapse. And every time he gets out, the next person gets out, and the next person gets out, and everybody like around him. If the top order's doing well with him in it, the middle order is just out for nothing. And the same the other way if the top order's rubbish, as we saw today in the second innings, the middle order was quite good actually. So it is we need to like put on higher totals, and he's sort of the centre of that at the moment.
Mm. Yeah, no, I agree. Do you have a figure that you give him? A specific figure? Out of 10?
7, or
7.
yeah, well, the
Yeah.
second innings wasn't great, and it's just disappointing to see him getting out in the same way again.
Mm. Ben Stokes. See, I don't know. I'm sort of in the middle with Ben Stokes. I think I'd give him a 5 out of 10. He's not been up to standards, honestly. I know he's come back after a long time, but like I think with net practice, with playing the first test, you expect him to at least provide at least show a glimpse of his of his good form in this test, and that comes back down to the reliance of England on key players. But yeah, I think it was 34 in the first innings, and he scored like 12 in the
I
second
think he
innings.
played a really nice knock there.
I think I'd give him 5 out of 10.
I think
It's
the
just
first
because,
innings.
yeah, I think just because of volume, pretty much. If he'd scored more runs on the paper, we might have played a good knock, but realistically, we want runs. We need runs, especially in the first innings, where
Yeah.
we have a trend of
Yeah.
not scoring many runs in the first innings.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Who's next? Oh,
hope, yeah.
well, I really like Ollie Pope. I really like him. I think he definitely deserves to be in the team. I really liked him since he scored that 100 against South Africa, where he played so well in that series. It's weird because you'd think he'd do really well in these conditions with bounce and pace on, and he times the ball quite nicely and he plays quite positively. But he's really not played well this series. And I mean, I think the first innings where he hit 35 in the first test was his high score, and getting out for 4 this morning. Really, we did not need that. We needed him to play a good hand like he did in the first test. And he just didn't do that, so I'd give him a 5 or a 4 out of 10.
Yeah, no, I agree. Ollie Pope, he has the shots, he has the style, but if you don't perform, he's 100% going to run the risk of being dropped. And I feel like when England
Yeah.
look at their squad for the third test, he's going to be like a key name that's going to be looked at. So will Rory Burns and
Yeah.
Hasib Hamid. So there's 3 players who could be dropped or could be changed, and there might be a shuffle in the order as well. David Milan going up top,
Yeah.
but Ollie Pope really needs to start like showing his talent, because there's no point in being really good in county circuits and also scoring loads of runs in first class cricket. But if you can't do an international cricket, it doesn't really matter anymore, realistically, especially if you're hoping to be a constant force in the international squad. But he's only young as well. He's like 22, I think, so he's got years ahead of him. But yeah, Josh Butler, of course. See, before today's his not today, I would have honestly given a really low rating, probably like one
Really
or
low,
two.
yeah.
But then today is impressive innings, I have to admit. Obviously, a lot of the time it was a lot of leaving, a lot of defending. But when England needed someone to use up overs, that's what he did,
Yeah,
and that was what was really impressive. He 26 of 207 balls. That is more than double of the next most in England's team, which is 95, Roy Burns. So he survived for ages,
yeah,
and he gave England some kind of hope. And the really shocking thing is that the way he got out, which was him stepping onto his own stumps. So
yeah.
it wasn't even him. It wasn't bad batting, but he drafted in.
Yeah,
He obviously
yeah.
didn't play like beautiful shots and score loads of runs, but he did what was required of him. So that was impressive. So I'd probably give him I'd probably give him a 6.
I think that him stepping onto the stumps just like summed up the entire test match for us. Us getting really unlucky, us missing the stumps for run outs, us dropping catches. I really think it like summed up the test match in the sense we just got so unlucky in the end, but we didn't really deserve to win.
Yeah, I agree. It's reflective of what the performance is. Chris Wokes, what do you think?
Again, I really like Chris Works, and I think he batted amazingly well in both innings. One of our top scorers throughout the Test match, and that second innings where he hit that really nice 44, he again kept us in it with Josh Butler. He's the one. He was sort of playing the knock where Josh Butler could just sit back and do nothing really, and he
Mm,
trusts him to give him the strike. He's a trustworthy player. You can give him the strike, and he's very capable with the bat. And unfortunately, his bowling was not very good. And as I said, I really like him, but overseas, I think his bowling, when there's not as much swing and nip off the seam, I don't think he gets as many wickets, and I don't think he challenges the batsman as much. I saw that his record at Lords was like he averages over 50 with the bat, and he averages about 15 with the ball. So I think he's amazing over here, but down under, I don't think he's the best player for the team. So I'd give him a 6 or a 7. Again, similar to Joe Root, just the bowling bringing his score down.
yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I'm not really. I don't know how you class Chris Wokes bowling. Was it really? I think it's sort of in a way unlucky because he's not as if he was bowling in the wrong areas. He was bowling. Sometimes he's bowling a little bit too short, but I think England will just keep him in the team for his batting because if he can score runs at least 20s, 30s, that is more than the top order is doing regularly.
Yeah,
So Chris Wokes, like he's showing that he can be an all rounder, and I think this
yeah.
is an evolution of his game. He's becoming a
I
better
think
player.
I think it would be unfair to drop him if you're just gonna say, "Oh, you're not bowling well enough, so we're gonna drop you." But he's scoring more runs than everyone else, like third highest scorer in the Test match for
Yeah,
us. Like he should be in the team. Anyone above the sixth highest should be in the team because they're in the top half. You wouldn't drop someone if they're in the top half of your team. So it makes no sense if we do drop him.
yeah,
But
no, 100%.
I'm pretty sure they will after how he didn't take enough wickets in the bowling, which I do sort of understand. But he banged really well, which is impressive.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Ollie Robinson. See, I'm impressed with him. I think he's doing really well. He's still taking wickets. Obviously, not as many wickets as we can always expect more. We can always expect more wickets. But he did take
Yeah,
Steve Smith's wicket, Travis Head, two players of good
yeah,
form, and that did change the game. So it at least helped them in the second innings. And in the first innings, I'm not sure he took. I think he took 4 wickets. So um,
yeah,
sorry, not 4 wickets, 1 wicket. But still, he's contributing, and he's relatively new to the international scene. So,
yeah,
yeah, I think he's doing really well. Batting wise, see, I think what England need to start,
yeah,
the new players need to start really being need to be able to low order need to be able to bat like Chris Wokes. I think Ollie Robinson has the potential because he didn't get out
yeah,
very. He
definitely.
survived against Spinner, he survived against Mitchell Stark. It was good. Josh Butler was doing a little bit of like sort of shepherding the tail in a way, which was helpful. But still,
Mm.
Ollie Robinson can survive. Now we need to convert that into more like if we need to score runs quickly, he needs to be on it. Like Chris Wokes, who has a always generally a healthy strike rate in like the 40s, 50s. if Ollie Robinson can get up to that level, then I think we'll have two good all-rounders, or at least bowling all-rounders, which will help.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in his first innings, I think he scored a 42 with the bat, which was really impressive against the best bowling attack in the world in New Zealand. But his bowling is so impressive. Actually, he averages less in tests than he does in first class, which is so unusual for most players. But it's sort of showing he's thriving under the big stage for England.
Mm. Yeah, I think I'll give rating wise 8 out of 10. I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah,
It's good, well played. What do you think about Stuart Broad?
I think him batting in the second innings was hilarious. Actually, watching Larton just like beat him every time. I think he was
Yeah,
dropped twice. He nicked a few that he should have like been out to. I think on his second ball, the ball went past his bat and missed the stumps by about a centimetre.
yeah,
He was a chance for LBW. He was leaving really well, actually. He batted pretty well in that second innings, and in the first, he had a really good six. And his bowling, it was good, but I think everyone sort of thought there would be a better effect against David Warner. But Warner
mm,
batted twice, and I mean, in the first innings, he got himself out really to Stokes by hitting it straight to a fielder, and in the second innings, he got himself out and by both players being at the same end. So I think Broad, he played really well, but because of how well he played last Ashes, we don't realise how well he played. So I give him a 7 out of 10.
yeah. I agree with most of what you're saying. I feel like all the bowlers in general in England's attack, except for Ollie Robinson, are lacking end product. Chris Woakes been taking off wickets. Stuart Broad been taking off wickets. We'll go on to James Anderson, but I don't think he took enough wickets. I feel like it's just
Yeah,
lack of end product, which means that even if we're beating the bat like 100 times, there's no point if
yeah,
we don't take wickets. We've got to put that sustained amount of pressure.
yeah,
Most of the time, one bowler was putting pressure, whilst the other one on the other end was letting in
yeah.
runs. So it wasn't really. It didn't have enough. It wasn't strong enough attack.
I think in the first innings for them, after the first day, they'd only scored about 200 runs. And if you saw they'd only scored 200 runs after 90 overs, you'd think they're either all out or they've been really slow. But we'd only
Mm.
picked up 2 wickets. And I mean, Josh Butler dropping Labuschagne on 21 and then Labuschagne making a century really didn't help our cause. And I think it could have made a big effect on the test match if he did take that catch. But again, like, not enough threat from our bowlers really, apart from Robinson, I'd say.
Yeah, no, I agree. I completely agree. Yeah. So James Anderson, he bowled. Okay, he bowled well. I saw him beat the bat a load of times. Not
Oh,
enough.
so many times, yeah.
As I said, not enough end product. But yeah, batting wise, you can't expect much from a number 11. Well, he's been not out
Yeah,
100 times in his Test career.
yeah,
He's
that
batted,
was very nice
yeah,
to see.
it's actually incredible. So
Yeah,
yeah, so
and
he's got
I think
first player to do that.
second place is on 63, and they're retired, so it's quite incredible because he's
That's
got a lot
crazy.
of innings where he bats for maybe 2 balls and the other person gets out. I'm
Mm,
sure Stuart Broad will eventually get there because they get a lot of partnerships together where they're both getting out. So eventually, maybe.
yeah, yeah, I agree. Okay, let's go on to Australia's team. So do you want to start with David Warner?
I really hate David Warner. I think after the ball tampering thing, I really didn't like him. I think he overreacts. Like, he raises his bat. I bet he like celebrates his head off when he scores 100 against the B team. So,
Mm.
but I have to rate him fairly, and he played really well. He took a couple of great catches. He batted really well in the first inning, but he got run out in the second innings. It was quite funny to watch, actually. But yeah, he batted really well, so I'd have to give him an 8 or 9 out of 10 with that 93. I think he got.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah, he batted really well. Marcus Harris, yeah, I'm gonna rate him like 5 out of 10. Still not producing runs. I don't know why
Yeah,
Australia have been giving loads of chances. He's had loads of innings that he's consecutively playing as an opening batsman. Of course, it's tough being an opening batsman, but the reason why you're putting opening batsman is because you've done it in first class cricket. You're a very good batsman, good technique. But with Marcus Harris, he's the only thing he does consistently is get out. Like I can't think of anything else he does very consistently.
Yeah.
Gets out for low scores. So yeah, 5 out of 10, 100%.
Then it's Labuschagne.
Yup, Labuschagne.
Yeah, I like Labuschagne, but he's not my favourite. I think he overreacts to situations like David Warner, but again, he played really well. He should have been caught for 21 in the first, but I reckon I've got to give him a 10 out of 10 because he got the century in the first innings and a very important 50 in the second to keep Australia getting to a good total. So I think he played very well. So 10 out of 10.
Yeah. Steve Smith, I think probably for him 7, 8 out of 10. Captaincy wise, obviously with Pat Cummins bit deemed a close contact at him not being able to play. You didn't really have many other options other than Steve Smith. You could have gone to David Warner, but that would be even more controversial. So I think Steve Smith was fine, but like in terms of batting, he batted well, 93 in the first innings. Captaincy was really good. I think he did bowl an over of leg spin, I think, and it was a maiden, so all round pretty good. I'd probably give him an 8 out of 10. Was what you expect of Steve Smith. He scores loads of runs. He's a good batsman. You don't expect any less from him. So I'm not exactly, shocked as such.
Yeah, I think it's funny because his average actually went down from whatever 60 odd because he scored 93 and 6. So it's really funny because he's such a great batsman that his average is going down pretty much whatever he does. But again, he played so well in the first innings. I reckon England were really glad to get him out in the end. I think he could have been out first ball in the second innings, but Butler dropped him. It's a real shame. But we got him out pretty early anyway, and I don't think he should have been captain. I think it should have probably gone to someone like Travis Head, someone who used to be vice captain. I think he was Travis Head. And I think he's a good leader Head. I just don't think the captaincy ever should go back to Stephen Smith after the ball tampering incident, or Warner, or Bancroft. I don't think he'll ever play for Australia again, though, Bancroft.
Yeah, no, I don't think I don't think the Australian selectors really take it seriously as other countries would. But yeah, I agree with most of what you said. Travis Head. Do you want to do Travis Head?
Yeah, I think he's in excellent form at the moment. I mean, I haven't really watched much of him, and when he played in the 2019 Ashes, he got a load of starts. He got a couple of 50s, 5 or 6 30s, and they dropped him, I think. But I think he was sort of the glue in the Australian team. Like in the first Test match, they were 35 for 3, and him and Smith managed to get them to 300. And I think he's a really good batsman, and his 51 in the second innings was really actually well played. Obviously, he got that amazing 100 in the first innings, which sort of won them the Test match. In the end, there was no coming back after he did that, and he's a very skilled player for someone who just goes a bit under the radar. You wouldn't expect him to be number 5 batsman, but he's hit a hell of a lot more runs than Stokes, and he's not really rated as highly as Stokes. So
yeah, that's true. I agree.
Probably give him 7.5 out of 10. All the ratings for the Aussies are going to be higher than us because they just played better in every department, really.
Yeah, I agree. Cameron Green, bowling pretty well in both innings. I think he was carrying a side strain or some kind of injury because he didn't bowl many overs in the second innings. But first innings he bowled really well. He beat the bat a lot of times, cut a few wickets. He had his pace as well as just another rare option, and with his height as well, he just provides Australia another dimension to their attack. And we haven't seen any of his batting yet. He's been getting out pretty regularly, but they have been to some good balls. Like his Australia's first innings, he got out to a beauty from Ben Stokes. So overall, I think I'll give him a 7 out of 10. If he batted well, if he scored something in the 20s or something, I would give it a lot higher. But that's still fine. I think it's a good performance.
I think I completely agree with that because he's bowling really, really well. Actually, he's got Joe Root out twice now. Is it 3 times?
Yeah.
He's really good at drawing you in, like Ben Stokes does. But his batting, as soon as Tim Paine stepped down, some way.
It had to happen
he got out
because
first
Carey is an excellent wicketkeeper and a really good batsman.
And
he hasn't really batted that well. He got the 50 in the first inning, but
in this
really well made. In fact,
or whatever.
I think it was a run every 2 ball 50.
Poor
and his keeping, apart from the sort of block on Just Butler.
Alex Carey, what do you think about Alex Carey?
Quite incredible, actually. That's the first time he's dropped it.
He's
taken some really good takes down the left side. Brilliant so far, and
I think
bowlers,
he has to be
so really impressed with him.
So
I give him an 8
the
out
only
of 10.
reason he was really in the team was because he was sort of the only feasible captain option after the ball tampering. But Carey had to.
Yeah. Mitchell Stark, he's contributing with ball and bat. I feel like he was out of form for the last couple of months. So in all forms of cricket, now he's sort of playing himself back into form. I honestly expected to see a Yorker. I expected to see a Yorker to Josh Butler. But anyway, everyone knows how good Mitchell Stark's Yorkers are. But overall, batting, bowling's been really good. I'd say in terms of bowling attack, he was sort of the glue that Pat Cummins normally is, or Josh Hazelwood is.
Yeah.
So he did really well in their absence. So I think he should be rated 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah. I completely agree with that. He also played a nice hand with the bat in the first innings. And same with Nessa, who's next.
Nisa, I think it is.
Nisa, yeah. He played really well with the bat in the first innings. 35, I think he got. And he's a dangerous bowler. I don't think he picked up many wickets, maybe 2, but really dangerous and hard bowler to face. He picked up a massive wicket of Milan when Milan was actually playing really nicely. I think Milan hit a cover drive to the fence in about 2 seconds after his first ball. So it was a very important wicket. It's quite skiddy. The ball's keeping low the whole time, and it's hard to play. And you can't really drive him because it could go under your bat. You can't go off the back foot because you could be trapped LBW. But you just got to find ways to play these bowlers. And for a debutant, I think he played really well. So 7 out of 10, I'd say.
Yeah.
Because he didn't pick up many wickets. He just didn't pick up many wickets. So.
Yeah, wickets is always, obviously, as a bowler, you need to be taking wickets because no matter how well you bowl, realistically, wickets is the thing that people are going to see. Wickets is the thing that's going to make the difference. But Jai Richardson. See, to me, I feel like he was better than Michael Nisa. I think, I don't know, to me, I love his action. I love the way he bowls. I love he has some variation. I love that he's always exploiting the seam. He bowled better than Mitchell Stark with the new ball on the second new ball on the second innings of England, and he bowled really well. Batting wise, we don't really have to expect him to contribute when you've got like Mitchell Stark, Michael Nisa.
Yeah, 6 in the.
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah, he hit in the first innings. I think it was the first inning. Yeah. Which is obviously that's really good. Yeah, we don't expect him to score like 20, 30, 40, 50, but still, at least we know he can bat, which is always helpful. The thing with Australia that always puts them in front of England is that they can bat to number 10, 11. Their number 11 batsman, Nathan Lyon, with Pat Cummins and Josh Hazelwood, actually bats like 8 or 9, so he can bat as well. Everyone can bat in the Australian order, and everyone can score at least 20, which makes them so lethal, and which means that they can score a lot of runs, a lot more than England can.
Yeah,
so
I think there's just a lack of that in the England team. There's no real runs from Broad and Anderson at the moment. So, and also Jai Richardson, he's really quite small, and to get the pace and bounce that he does is quite impressive. I think he got 5 foot in the second innings. Of course, one of the batsmen stepping on the stumps, but he's a nice guy. You can sort of tell that, and he's a really good bowler and a very big six that he hit in the first inning. So really impressive.
Yeah. Okay. Finally, would you like to talk about Nathan Lyon?
Oh, I think he's amazing. I don't know why they call him Gary, but he's really quite an amazing player. Yeah, of course his batting isn't very good. Did he get to bat? I don't think he did in the first because they declared, didn't they? Or the
Yep,
second?
he didn't bat in both actually. They declared on 9 wickets on both, which is a bit depressing.
Yeah. But his bowling is just so hard to play. He just pins left-handers down and he was 0 wickets after 5 wickets. He ended up with like 3 or something, which is quite incredible. When he got Robinson out, it was sort of like, oh my word, is Broad going to survive? And all 4 of the balls, Broad could have been out or should have been out, really. I think his first ball, he got Broad to nick off, and Australia almost took a very tough catch. And then the second ball just missed the stumps. Third ball, LBW peel, and fourth ball was just a leave. But he's a very good bowler, and he's going to go down as one of the best spinners that Australia have had since Shane Warne. So 100%. I'd give him 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I think that the real key thing about Nathan Lyon is he plays that holding role. He can bowl 30, 40, 50 overs in an inning, bowl every ball. Like, it's not very few looseners, and he bowls really well. And that's something that is pretty rare in international cricket, especially off spinners. So I think he is that point of difference for Australia's attack, because you could have him in the team, and you don't need to take out. I like how England did. They had to take out Jack Leach and put a full pace attack. We don't need to. Australia don't need to do that because Nathan Lyon brings value in all pitches, in all circumstances. He plays a holding role. He gives rest, even when he's not taking wickets or there's not much turn and bounce. He provides a holding role for the Australian attack, giving a rest to the seamers, which is so important, especially in Test match.
I think also because all the bowlers in Australia are so good, that one of them will be loosening a player up, giving them wide ones that they're missing, and then the next one will just come in and pick up the wicket. And Lyon can do that really well. He's constantly taking wickets. His average is great, and it's sort of the same action every time, but you just have no idea where it's going. And I think you try to play him off the back foot, which you should do in England to off spinners. But over there, it's bouncing a lot more. You want to play the ball downwards. You don't want to be chipping it upwards. And I think that's what got Robinson out, got quite a few players out for. Just like playing the front foot to off spinners is very risky, but less risky than what they were doing. I think Stokes actually, he played about 10 forward defensive shots playing on the front foot, and the first one he played off the back foot, he was so deep in his crease that it was just gone for all money when he got hit on the pads. But I just think Nathan Lyon is a really important player to the Aussies. I think you couldn't replace him with someone like Adam Zampa. You just couldn't, because Adam Zampa, he picks up wickets, but he doesn't play that role that Lyon does, where he bowls 40 overs in an innings of 90 overs.
Yeah.
So, again, really impressive this Test match.
Yeah. Okay, to finish, what would you say the key takeaway is for England for the third Test?
Well, I think the Aussies were really good. They fielded really well. Their bowling was good, but I think that first innings we were too careful. We just didn't bowl full enough. It's okay to be hit for 4 at the start of an innings, and to be honest, in the end, the runs just didn't matter. We could have been hit for 600 or 150 overs in that innings, and we still would have been in the same situation. I think us being careful and collapses again, batting collapses. Also, like, the top order just needs to improve, and we need to improve on our fielding as well. There's not much urgency in players. I mean, I saw Rory Burns, he picked up a ball at cover and threw it about 20 yards wide of the stumps. And went for 4, obviously.
That's ridiculous.
It's some of our fielding's been poor. We've dropped a lot of catches. I think we dropped something like 8 catches, and they've dropped about 3, and they've all been pretty tough. And I think Josh Butler, he took a couple of amazing catches. Marcus Harris, Steve Smith. Who else did he catch really well? Can't remember, but he also dropped some complete sitters. He dropped Navashane twice, and both of them should have been taken, especially the second one. Like on 95, he edged it straight to him. He didn't even have to move. So it's, again, like, it sums up the test match. Like, you could be playing really well at one point, but then you just fail in the next bit. Like, Joe Root playing really well in the first innings, then playing badly in the second innings. I think that was just the story of the match for us.
Yeah, no, I think England have really got to improve. They won't have any chance of winning the series. They've got to win 3 on the trot in Australia, and even if they win 2 and draw 1 or something, they're still, Australia will retain the Ashes. So, yeah, we are. Seems like we're doomed to lose the series. Hopefully not 5 or 4-0. Like, I don't think anyone wants that, but it is looking like that.
I hope we win 1 test match. I think we can win 1 test match. The Australians, they've been good, but they haven't been brilliant, and we've been making them seem like they've been brilliant, and we need to improve on our batting especially.
Yeah. Thank you, Luca, for today's episode. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we'll see what happens in the Boxing Day test match.